start and they can. Yeah, so a couple of announcement because it's going to be used for the academic purposes. We're going to record this session so that this recording can be put up on the website later as a link for somebody who some other invite some other people who want to kind of visit it later. So please allow us to kind of record this session. And the second announcement is that we would have loved to kind of take questions for you talking about it, but in the interest of time, we've kept it as a chat session. So any queries you have during the course of the webinar, we request you to kindly put it on the chat window so that many of us are able to see the chat window so we can take up those Q&A. Towards the end, we'll kind of provide you email IDs of all of us also. So in case you want to get in touch with us later, we are more than kind of free to write to us on those basis. Yeah. So with this, let's begin this particular webinar. Allow me to share the screen first. Can you all see my screen?
Ninad, maybe you can make it full screen.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And also you could introduce yourself and
we'll do that session.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I think we'll just do a quick round of introduction so you are aware of who's there on the panel. Maybe we can start with Mosmi and Sarah, and then we all will kind of take a round around it. Mosmi, you want to start?
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Mosmi, and I'm in my third year of PhD right now. So, yeah, my basic interest right now is working with like earth architecture and for the environment. So, yeah, that's basic about me.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm a second-year public space design student, and I am an artist who just loves observing and drawing buildings and public spaces.
Hi, I'm Ninad. I'm trained as an architect and I'm a faculty at Srishti. I'm a head of studies for the public space design course. And my practice has essentially been around the design and evaluation of built environment that is conscious towards climate, culture, ecology. Around that kind of practice I have. And currently I'm the head of studies for the public space design course. Over to you, Namrata.
Hello, everyone. I'm Namrata Toraskar. I am the program coordinator of public space design at Srishti. I am an architect by profession, and my specialization majorly is in the field of building crafts, and I use illustrations to address and talk about building crafts across vernacular settlements of the country. Yes, Priya.
Thank you, Namrata. I'm Priya Joseph. I also teach within the public space design program, and you will hear more anyway soon.
Yeah, thanks everybody. I'll just move forward. Yeah, so we just thought we'll just let you know that three of the faculty and 2 current students are currently on this panel. But beyond that, we have a team of faculty who are kind of associated with public space design as a program. We all come from diverse backgrounds, from interior design, furniture design, illustrators. We have people who want to material culture, art, architectural history. We have public policy, street design, urban planners, urban designers, transport and mobility. And we have people working with earth as a natural material, working in the community design. So these are the kind of people generally are associated with public space design as a studio. Apart from that, we are a collective of more than 150 plus artists and designers together as a community in Srishti. And all of us kind of keep pitching into different units that have been offered. And that's how that diversity of knowledge kind of keeps percolating across different units and modules that we kind of conduct. Before we kind of get directly into public space design, just a quick thing, just to kind of introduce you to Shrishti. Many of you may already been aware of, but Shrishti has been founded in 1996 by Dr. Geeta Narayanan, and it's been a 25 years of legacy. Currently, we are offering many programs. There are 3 years Bachelor's of Vocation program. There are 4 years of Bachelor's of Design and BFA programs that are run in Shrishti. There is 1 year postgraduate diploma programs that we offer, and there are 2 years post-graduation PG programs that we offer, Bdes and MFA, MA. Overall, we have about, currently we have about 1,500 plus students and a community of 150 plus faculty who are part of the Shrishti Manipal Institute right now. In terms of the ethos, Shrishti has always been stood for some of these values. I'm not going to read out the whole thing, but the mission was always to creatively impact and build new ecosystems. We keep challenging assumptions, uncover hidden opportunities. Overall, most of the teaching and teaching pedagogy revolves around expanded consciousness and holistic development of the individuals. The contexts are always about environmentally responsive and sustainable approaches to the design projects that we do. Social justice, equal opportunity, and working with multidisciplinary entities is always been the core of Shrishti in any program that you kind of enter in that sense. Number 3, I want to. In terms of the public space design, as a program overview, this program, again, it kind of continues the values that Shrishti has been talking about. And we situate this particular program in a spatial design domain and gives an opportunity to engage with diverse scales and contexts, which are collective in experience. They're public in nature and they're collective in terms of experiences, both interiors and exterior. So just to give you, I mean, this is just a gist of what we deal with. There is much more to it, but to give you a basic idea of what the context generally we deal with, we do talk about planned spaces, unplanned, temporary, permanent, across various scales, right? So we all have kind of encountered spaces like from chai point to cafe, from neighborhood shop that I have outside my house to the brand environments that we go and experience, everyday meeting spaces that happen, to the community spaces that are designed, bus stops to the places of mass transits, reading room to public libraries, or from healthcare spaces to hospitality spaces, even creative set designs to exhibition event spaces, which we kind of all encounter on a regular basis. So these are the kind of, just to give you a sense of what kind of spaces generally get discussed in this particular program. And going to the program position by itself, that context is one thing of it. But then when we situate public space design program, it's essentially, again, coming from Shrishti ethos, it's very much interdisciplinary and a choice-based navigation that kind of adds value to this particular program. It's a 4-year program at undergraduate level. The choice-based navigation makes it very student-centric. No one student's journey is same in this kind of a thing, because there is a sign-up process. Student choose kind of units they want to sign up in particular thing, and that's the beauty of the whole program, where each student can navigate and develop their unique portfolio at the end of 4 years in this particular one. The program does offer tools and methods to think, design, and research. So it's not only about design. The research is very much a key part of any of the Shrishti, including public space design program, where we do stress a lot on the research component of it. The program also approaches space design essentially beyond its aesthetical and functional agendas. And we do kind of encourage critical thinking in all our studios. And critical thinking generally does come through the lens of, let's say, equity, inclusion, gender, accessibility, safety, socio-political, community engagement, sustainability. So a lot of these kind of aspects or concepts do get associated with when we are talking about space design. Yeah, and in a way, it does help student to have an enriched experiences, and it makes them very confident and creative, confident, and a very independent thinker when they kind of go out in the industry. So all the images that you're seeing alongside are all the studio images that we have in the public space design domain, just to kind of give you a sense of visual cues. In terms of vision, it's pretty clear. In the vision of public space design is to kind of nurture aspiring spatial design practitioners, which are who are confident, they are well informed, they are sensitive, and they can imagine and envisage living environments with sustainable, equitable, and inclusiveness as your key core values. And that's what, again, I mean, we just re-emphasize on the core values that we kind of run this program with. So though it's about designing our spaces or talking about understanding, analyzing spaces, essentially at the end of the course, we expect that the individual who entered this particular program is deeply humanist, is critical thinker, and he has a creative confidence to deal with multiple interdisciplinary nature of design practice that we all kind of encounter outside the academic domain in the industry. Yeah, empathetic and passionate about social inclusion, contextually aware, sensitive. So all the solutions that we kind of prompt students to think about are sensitive to the local climate, culture, society in which the particular thing is developed. Ecologically responsive approaches, and of course the interdisciplinarity that we'll talk about more in detail as we go. Yeah, Namrata, you want to talk about the values?
So as we adhere to all these core values, there are also certain learning goals that we aim to achieve over a period of the entire course duration. And not just during the course duration, but also as something that will stay with the students throughout their entire practice. So there are these certain learning goals that look at certain soft skills about empathizing, interacting, collaborating with each other. There are also certain learning goals which focus on the hard skills that are very discipline specific, that allows the students to form certain spatial ideas and concepts, make prototypes, and intervene in various contexts that will be introduced to them. They are also encouraged to work with multiple materials and also collaborate with different labs and workshops, which you will be knowing soon. And along with that, it's also very critical for them to hone their communicating skills, visualization skills, and representing what they think of spatial design to a larger audience. While they are doing and picking up all these soft and hard skills, simultaneously, it is also important for them to be able to think critically through the entire, all the different stages of the design process. And in the process, develops their own stand and their own, carve out their own niche in the design practice. Next, Ninad. So, Ninad, next. Can we go on to the next one?
Yeah, just it's not moving.
So while we are introducing these different soft skills, hard skills, as well as certain thinking processes to the students also are encouraged to follow different learning approaches. So the studio culture, as you would see later, I mean, there is different modes of engagement that we encourage. It could be skill-based learning, wherein, you know, they are involved in making certain things digitally. Physical modeling is encouraged. Sometimes it's a very hands-on experience when they are working in collaboration with a certain lab. And sometimes it could be a studio-based learning. So a multiplicity of all these approaches ensures that, you know, all these different aspects of the learning goals and the core values that we spoke about are addressed to. And of course, since the cohort, as a cohort, they are always encouraged to work collaboratively, not just with their peers, but also with the practitioners that we are here with them. Yeah. Next. No. Okay. So at this moment, I would open it out to Sarah and Mosami, and we would like to know from them about their perspective about their experience at Shrishti and also in spatial design. Yes, Sarah, if you can hear from you.
So my experience in Shrishti so far has been great. Well, mainly because, okay, we will be talking about the interdisciplinary aspect soon, but there's so much to do in Shrishti. Like, despite being from a particular major, you can venture into all of these other courses. And along with that, you have all these studios available to you. So we've got a pottery studio, we've got weaving labs. So currently, I'm just trying to get my hands dirty on all of these and trying to get to know what I like and what I don't like. So it's a lot of exploring. Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. How about you, Mosami? How has been, you are in the third year, how has been your journey in spatial design and Shrishti as of now?
So basically, like Sarah said, you can choose what you want to be for that particular unit. Even though like you're doing public space design, you can choose, let's say, a furniture design course. So you can choose a printmaking course. Like what I did was in my second year, I explored various options to find out what I wanted to focus on for my third year. So that's a good thing that you can do here in Srishti, because in your later you can focus on what you would like to specialize or what you would like to focus on. So that way it's opened up a lot of options for me personally.
So, as Sarah and Mosami were hinting at about this very interdisciplinary and the choice-based navigation that Shrishti allows, which really opens up a lot of possibilities for the learners, not just from the discipline perspective, but elsewise too. As a design practice, where do they find themselves? Can we go on to the next slide, Anand?
Yeah, so I'm just to put
Yeah.
things in perspective for the audience that when they're talking, so generally it's a 4-year program, and then what happens is the first year is your foundation year, where any major you sign up for any of the courses at foundation level, it's like mostly focused on the learning process and getting introduced to the art and design concepts. So very exploratory and a fun domain for the students to kind of exploring with different concepts, contexts, materials, and so on. Year 2 and year 3 is where the whole choice-based navigation unfolds for the students. And you start choosing, of course, the major that you have as a public space design, but alongside you can start figuring out which are the other minors that you can choose from the other disciplines, the ecosystem that Srishti has and that we'll talk about later. And 4th year becomes your culminating year where all the learnings that you had in year 1, 2, and 3, you start applying them in your pre-thesis and thesis project. So 7th semester becomes your disciplinary pre-thesis project, versus the 8th semester becomes your, again, the interdisciplinary thesis, where again, it's a choice-based sign up that happens for that. So it's a pretty open and flexible kind of a system. Let me just go to the next slide. If we're just focusing more on the interdisciplinary things, this is kind of the Srishti ecosystem that we talk about. So today we are talking about public space design as a program. Especially this is around the Bdes and the BFA programs that we are offering at Srishti. But apart from public space design, there is a series of other kind of courses which are available. Each discipline kind of offers many units across it. And like Sarah and Mosmi is saying, that students have an opportunity to choose kind of units that have been offered by any of these disciplines. I'll just show you one example of how this interdisciplinary choice happens. This is just a diagram. We're just trying to work around. This has immensely helped students as well as us as a facilitators to kind of navigate students' journey. So each, like we were saying, each student journey may be completely different, even though all of them have signed up for public space design. For example, somebody like Mosmi may want to take public space design as her major and may land up taking many of the units from a discipline called industrial arts and design practices. And the skills, the transdisciplinary learning or the interdisciplinary learning that happens between these two kind of starts giving her an opportunity to make a portfolio which is kind of tending towards interior design, space design, furniture design. You start getting scales towards exhibition design, set design kind of practices when you kind of start graduating from Srishti. And so on. Similarly, you have an intersection of, let's say, public space design with business system service designs, and you kind of want to kind of, you are a kind of a person who is into more into design research, you want to understand urban systems, and then your whole portfolio kind of goes towards becoming like a strategist to understand, to research more about cities or the larger urban gametes. Or somebody, or maybe Sarah is a kind of a person who's like an artist, who she likes to have an artistic approach to things. So with public space design as a major, but a contemporary arts as a minor, you can start evolving your portfolio towards practices which are more towards artistic practices. So that's how the interdisciplinarity and the navigation starts working. Namrata, you want to add anything, or?
I guess we'll move on, Ninad. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I guess Sarah and Mosami will take us through the different modes of approaches that we follow, and also the studio culture that really allows us to, explore these different mediums and approaches. Over to you, Sarah and Mosami.
So these pictures are basically from the site visits that we have had for me over the past 2 years. And it's really good because you get not just a studio experience, but then you actually have live experiences to learn from. And I feel like that's better. That's a better way to pick up and learn things rather than just staying in a place. So till now we've gone to Bidar, Melkote, and Jitigram. That's basically in and around Bangalore to study their culture, architecture, the climate, and the materials that they use. So that's like a overall understanding of what we do, and then we translate that into our studio. So it's a very photographic memory that you get because you learn a lot from seeing it in person. So yeah, I feel like that's really helpful along with actual studio sessions. So yeah.
Okay, so in terms of studio culture, Shrishti focuses a lot on collaborative working and peer learning. So in a lot of our assignments, we often find ourselves working in groups. And what I like most about that is because you've got all these unique minds working on the same thing, and you sort of learn and see a different way of approaching the same problem. So I love collaborative working. I love that aspect of it. And then we also have peer learning. So what we do is after a particular task, we all sort of sit down and we have a discussion of what works, what doesn't work, and how we can improve. So sort of learning from each other and redefining our own approaches. So yes, next slide. In terms of mediums, you can use any medium you want to convey a particular idea. So in the start, you're introduced to traditional methods of drafting. So hand drafting, you would use a T-scale, set square, and pencil on paper sort of thing. And then you slowly move on to softwares like AutoCAD and SketchUp. In terms of making physical models, you can either do that using materials like cardboard or clay, or what a lot of students like using is we have laser cutting machines and 3D printers in our college. So a lot of students opt to use these to get a more defined model. So the way you want to communicate your idea is completely up to you, and you have a wide array of mediums to do that. Yes.
So this is an example of one of the renders that I done in one of our units, which was about studying about climate and material. And we had this unit with Ninad. He facilitated it. So this is just to show how you can go about how the process is of a particular project that you will learn. So as Sarah said, you can use models or sketching to communicate your ideas, but in the end, this is what the output would be like. And yeah, you just learn a lot from the making part of it to the conveying, it's an entire process that you get indulged in. So yeah, that's a really good aspect.
Priya, if you can just
Yeah,
take us
it's
through the
just,
fourth year
yeah.
project.
This was a fourth year project. So fourth year, you get a chance to work for a long time on a specific project. You will be given the context, but you can work in a very interdisciplinary space again. So that's great because a PhD a faculty may offer it, but you can also do a web page or you can do a film, but also within the context of public space design. So here you see the students making a scaled model of contours of North Bangalore. And like Mosmi and Sarah were saying that we have these, infrastructure where you can have 3D printing and a lot of other things which you use for models. So we teach you all this. And this is basically spatial mapping you can do, research goes into it. So by the final year, you're also, getting into these other very complicated aligned disciplines, which gives you an opportunity again to look at allied things like mapping or research and things like that. So you see there's a scale model with the lakes in Yalanka campus is somewhere there. And on the right, there are these students who worked extensively for 3 or 4 months on this particular project. Also, we've had research publications. So on the right, you see a little book that came out, and on the left, you see maybe some of you saw it in June. The student project was in the newspapers, the city newspapers, which was great for students to see their work translated. And it was on the lakes and mapping what is the ecosystem of the lake. So you get this kind of exposure is something that we wanted to just let you know. Yes, Anand.
So during also during their entire course, students get opportunities to collaborate with a lot of center and labs which are already functioning at Shrishti. So these center and labs allow the students to work on live projects on campus and off campus. So here you can see the Design Earth Lab, which is also part of Shrishti, wherein the students of in the spatial design domain were involved in the making of an oven on a campus. So majorly the idea was to check about, how an oven or an entity like that can become a catalyst in a certain spatial environment, and how it becomes a catalyst for a community to be built. So here, because of such collaborations, the students really get to broaden their perspectives, both in terms of the working along with each other as well as learning new skills on actual life projects on as well as off campus.
Yeah. It's already 6:30, but just allow me 5 minutes because I think this will be a some session that you may want to know more about. So what's happening with the students? So we did a kind of a check on all the graduates that have been graduated from public space design as a program. And we did have a meeting in 2024 with all our alumni where they were sharing their experiences, what are they up to with the current students. And those, again, that's a kind of collaboration that's very healthy, and we are very hopeful about carrying it forward. The current students and alumni have got on a platform where the opportunities are shared and the guidance is kind of shared between each other. That's how any design school is supposed to kind of operate in that sense. Beyond that, when we spoke to many of our alumni, many of them are currently pursuing their post-graduation. So many graduates from public space design these are just some of the examples of the places where they are currently. So if you see, it's very different, very transdisciplinary in a sense, where some of them are into interior design, conservation, or some of them have gone into spatial experience design. Some of them are kind of are into designing products, so exhibition design. So it's very diverse kind of a range across globally that many students are pursuing their masters. We also checked where are they, what are they doing professionally in the industry, and it's great that like about most of them are in spatial design studios where they are kind of working in interior and architecture studios. But at the same time, at more than, I mean, about 51% are still gotten into the conventional setup of interior architecture design, and they kind of gone into multidisciplinary practices in the spatial design domain. They're doing brand experiences, they're into exhibition design. Many of them are into branding and environmental graphics and wayfinding kind of studios, community-based responsible tourism. Some of them are into lighting design studios, production design, film sets, exhibitions, uh, textile and fashion design studios. Many of them are also into NGOs, charitable trusts, and collectives, working with the communities, because that's also a key kind of a focus for the public space design studio. So it's very diverse, the kind of professional practice that the students have gotten into. It's very, very diverse in that range. If you just allow me maybe 5 minutes, maybe I would just like to play a couple of videos for you. Just give me a minute. So I'm just kind of showing you these snippets of our alumni who are all are public space design graduates, and maybe I thought they'll just help to kind of listen to them for 5 minutes.
Ninad, we can't hear the audio.
Is there a way for me to change any settings? Okay, anyways, maybe we'll skip this bit of it. If it's a technical glitch, we give more chance for people to ask questions then. Yeah. So anyways, so one of the students here in the video, basically she's working in an architectural office, and she was trying to explain how the interdisciplinary nature of Srishti and the knowledge of the allied disciplines have helped her to contribute in an architecture design studio. The other particular student, she is she has her own firm about graphic design and brand experience design. Whereas there's one more student who was research driven, and she has her own spatial design magazine, and she does conduct workshops, and she writes a lot about parking spaces in the city, and she does kind of so there's a very diverse kind of a profile of students that we are kind of tracking. These are some of the contacts that many of you may want to just note down. Myself and Namrita, our email IDs are here. So if you want to kind of get in touch with us later, please feel free to write on these email IDs. Any admission related queries, you have the email address given. And of course, I'm sure you've gone through the Srishti Manipal website, PS Public Space Design website, and admission applications regarding the process. Yeah. With this, we thank you all for the patient listening. It's almost 40 minutes that we've been talking. Any questions, please feel free to type it down, and we'll be happy to kind of address them here. I'm just going to stop sharing so I can see the chats.
Yeah.
Thanks. Do we have any questions?
Nina, this is Mahesh. To all the attendees, I'm a faculty member. I run the webinars, but unfortunately, my camera of my laptop doesn't work. So I'm unable to switch on the. So my question, I think, for the benefit of others, Nina, then Namrata, Priya. Also, maybe
any general questions around the program, or any specific questions for the current students also, if you have, we'll be more than happy to kind of take them here.
Yeah, my thing is, what kind of a student should take, I mean, what should be the mindset of a student would take a public space design as their choice, because I'm sure that the person who takes a contemporary practice would be different than the mindset would be different than that of a public space design learner. So what do you think should a student, an applicant, what kind of a person should apply for public space design? What should be their interest? What should be the aptitude? Is what I'm trying to.
No questions, anybody?
Ninad, can you hear Mahesh or us? I
Can-
think Mahesh, Ninad
Priya,
is
you're on
unable
mute.
to hear us.
Oh. Can you hear me? Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
we
you,
can hear
Mahesh.
you,
Can you?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Ninad, can you hear Mahesh and us?
Yeah.
You can? Okay. Just want to tell us, for the benefit of the audience, what kind of a mindset, what kind of applicant would, or a learner would take public space design as opposed to visual communication or, product design for that matter.
Namrata, maybe you want to take it. There may be some.
Yes, I think I'll take up
Yeah.
that question. So a student who's looking forward to work in the spatial design domain, who's looking forward to work with context, community, and who's looking forward to also majorly collaborate and let other disciplines kind of inform their stance in the spatial design domain. It could be someone who really wants to work with the community, someone who wants to work in the rural sector, someone who wants to work with the habitats. I think someone who
Yeah.
wants to work in the urban domain, urban design domain, or want to explore in anything that is built environment, but keeping also in mind the not just for the humans but also for the more than humans perspective. So if someone who is looking for a very inclusive kind of a perspective towards designing uh, is the student that would be encouraged to apply in the field of in the discipline of public space design, I would say.
Okay.
Priya, would you like to add on to it?
Yeah, I think Ninad, the question from Mahesh was actually what kind of a student, what kind of a person may apply for PhD, and how is it different from someone who may like to do a CAP or, visual communication? So I think there was some glitch for your audio. You couldn't hear
No, I just
Mahesh.
couldn't listen to Mahesh, but then I heard what
Yeah.
Namrata is already
Yeah.
clarified for
So
that
if you want to
question.
add
So yeah.
that something.
No, it's more what is basically what Namrata said. But beyond that, I mean, anybody who just sometimes, there are people who just likes to explore spaces, understand them, analyze them. It's spaces and people in a way, because we can't kind of have people away from the spaces in that sense. So anybody who's interested in understanding spaces, at the same time the people behavior, I think all the units that public space design offers are kind of revolving around these two key parameters in that sense.
And the underlying importance of a context that will help you frame your inquiry, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at public space as a context, and then you could have other creative inputs from, I mean, your output could be, in the form of other creative medium, but the context for your inquiry, the context for understanding as a practitioner becomes the space, and more so public space, more so not just urban, but also rural. But these are just, you will see that the frame is how you deal with space. And of course, when you deal with space, you deal with people, do you deal with psychology, you deal with products, you deal with design, you deal with material. So all of that comes in that sense. It's more, it has this strength, the discipline itself, that it's quite wide and also narrow in many ways. So that's something very special when you join public space design. You get this bandwidth of, widening your scope and
And just
also
to add to that, the diverse
narrowing.
practices that we were discussing in the presentation around spatial design, There are certain key fundamental building blocks, if I may say that are kind of common to all these diverse practices which are within the larger discipline. Uh, Understanding spaces, mapping them, physicalities, qualitative aspect of it, people behavior. So they become the fundamental blocks of all these units. And then based on that, like Sarah and Mosmi were also explaining, by the third year, you start kind of gauging where you want to kind of uh, wanting to take your practice towards, whether it's the interior environments, whether it's the community environments, whether it's the experiential domain or it's the research domain. And slowly you start kind of emerging it from those basics. So that's how the structure is. So your year two generally kind of becomes a very strong fundamental unit, fundamental year. And then you start kind of diverting into different domains.
So there are two questions. One is from Devika Bapuraj. She asked, could you please discuss about the fee structure? I don't know if Namrata or Ninad.
I will take it.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
Mahesh will take that.
So Devika, right?
Yes.
Devika, it's I'm going to put the URL of the fee detail page on our website soon after I finish my answer. I mean, you can also take a look at it's all up there. The fee for the 4-year undergraduate program is 7,58,000 rupees per year. Out of which tuition fee is 4,32,000 and other academic fees that involve software, printers, usage of labs, travel, etc. is 3,26,000. So it's 7,58,000. There is in the first year there is a caution deposit that you give at 50,000 rupees, which you get back at the end of the course, so without interest. So that's the fees. I am right now going to paste the URL here so that you can actually go and see. Anybody who was interested can take a look at the fees there. Yeah, so that's about, I hope I've answered your question. Yeah, I hand it over back to you guys for the other.
Yeah. I think the other question is about Niret A asks, in case I don't want to do a postgrad course immediately after my bachelor's in public space design, what kind of employment opportunities open up for me after my degree? Yeah, Ninad.
So yeah, Nirit, like we were discussing in the presentation, essentially, in fact, we do encourage students to kind of do get some experience in the industry before they kind of go for the post-graduation, because that immensely helps as according to our kind of experience. And beyond, after the degree, again, the kind of field that students have chosen have been very varied. Some of them have chosen to go into interior and architecture design practices. Some of them wanting to kind of move towards more of furniture design studios, and in a way amalgamating space and furniture and getting into the set designs, exhibition design kind of a domain. Some of them have worked as an artists in public spaces. A lot of examples that you see around us in terms of having some kind of artistic practice around below the flyovers or next to the empty spaces or the forgotten spaces within the city, that kind of brings people together, brings community together, more towards placemaking kind of initiatives. A lot of these kind of practices students have chosen. And once they have got a little bit of an experience in the industry, it becomes easier for them to kind of pursue the right kind of a post-graduation that they want to choose. So yeah, there are plenty of opportunities after the graduation.
To add to that, some of, as you can remember, Ninad, some architects have told us that the public space graduate students bring in a very interesting combination of art and design, and which architecture graduates don't bring in. I mean, architecture graduates have their own strengths and they bring in other things, but public space design graduates bring some unique, kind of intangible, uniqueness into the practice is what they were telling us.
Just to expand what you're saying, Mahesh, is that let's say 5 to 10 years back, when, I mean, most of us have worked in architectural offices before, but the nature of architectural offices earlier was very different. Like any cross-section of architectural office, let's say 10 years back, would have 95% architects and maybe other 5% as support staff. And that's the kind of a composition of an architectural office would be. But given the interdisciplinary nature in the way industry is working now if you go to most of the architectural design practices, of course you have architects, but at the same time you have people who are content writers, you have people who are design researchers who are as a part of the architecture team. There are people who are specialized into spatial illustrations with kind of a skills that they have. So the composition of studios outside in the industry is also becoming very interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary. And that's, I think, the biggest advantage Srishti gives to all the students, where because you're already exposed to kind of navigate and maneuver through these different skill sets, offices do find a lot of value in getting a student who are able to kind of navigate into all those things. It just gives them a lot more confidence to kind of move between these disciplines.
So there is
Yeah,
one more question. Yeah,
go ahead.
from Arnav, asking about some examples of topics and contexts that we usually deal with. It ranges across the 3 years that you spend in the discipline. It could be a very small space, like it could be a monofunction space, like a small thela or a stall, a roadside stall, and it could also go up to something of a urban scale, looking at metro stations, looking at certain traffic junctions, and in between these two or beyond that, you already saw this one example of Priya's, where she was working in the context of the lakes of Bangalore. There are other contexts wherein, the students also venture into probably designing certain artist studios, probably designing an observatory. So it all depends on the faculty who is floating the course, but abiding to the learning goals that that particular course will look into. There are also certain examples of, looking at certain parks, certain green areas, but where inclusivity can be encouraged. There are also certain contexts probably relating to craft and clusters and community and context, getting climate into perspective. So it could be a context that you are not physically present in the context, but you are researching about it and then designing probably a craft interpretation center for a place in Kutch. So it allows you to work on these different contexts. And of course, in the final year, there is a context that the facilitator will bring to the board, wherein you are having a live context. Let's say last year, the students worked in the context of Bidar, and based on their interest, they came up with different types of briefs that they could serve in the context of Bidar University. So it varies. It varies across the years. It varies across the scales. But most importantly, though that variation is there, it will always abide by the learning goals that each year stands for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rosmi and Sarah, you may want to add what you all have done, so it will be really interesting for the prospective students.
So course-wise, the foundation year is very diverse. It's like all the courses combined together. So you're allotted a particular unit and you have like a diverse set. So you are doing everything basically. And you're also gaining skills of design as a basic knowledge. Then once you come to your second year, so we designed, uh, we observed a lake and we designed a particular function for it in our first unit where we learned the basics of the softwares and also drafting. And then it moved on to studying a particular road or a street or a bus stop where we designed how to make it more inclusive and researching and observing how it's not inclusive in a way as it is being functioning right now. And then once you come to your third year, what I've noticed is it gets a bit more technical. So we learned about climate and materials, and now I'm still going into my next sem, so I would learn a lot more there. But it has a flow to it which you don't understand in the beginning, but as you move ahead, you notice how it's collecting and it's moving forward. So yeah.
Sarah,
Yeah.
you want to say some? Thanks, Masmi.
Yeah, my experience is pretty similar to Mosami's because she's already completed her second year. So yes, initially we were introduced to basic architectural terms and elements, and then towards the end of it, we went to a lake, we observed the place, and then we were required to design a studio for the environment. And then the next class we started learning these softwares like AutoCAD and SketchUp. So far that's pretty much what we've done. I'm still yet to have more PhD classes. Yes.
So some
Yeah,
of the
so
interesting projects are also, like there was an oven with earth that Varun, one of our colleagues, and Namrata got it done. So, almost getting your, I mean, not just metaphorically, actually getting your hands dirty, and they were in the earth for a few weeks, which is great, which is a great experience. To also something like you go to a lake and go for many, many days and observe birds and, look at the ecosystem. And then sometimes you design a very high-tech kind of a build space which may be almost futuristic. So the range is really broad, and then people find their place, what they like, and there's a lot of freedom, like Mosmi and Sarah are saying, with the studios which are carpentry studios or metal work, or yeah, we have dyeing and so many other studios. So it becomes quite rich in that sense, and which is really unique at Srishti, you will see.
yeah, and also what excites me more is that context and scales keep changing across the studios. But luckily, because it's all about in public domain, most of the contexts are real world situations. And that brings a very interesting perspective because they are not hypothetical situations. They are real people, they are real places to go to and talk to. So the process in a way kind of keeps repeating for the students also. Each studio will be driven by certain values like inclusion, exclusion, climate, many other kind of values that we spoke about in the beginning. But there will always be a component of research attached to understanding the context physically and also understanding the people culturally, socially. So that kind of makes you more empathetic towards the context. You get an opportunity to talk to people, interview them. So it's in a way interesting where you're using design as a process and not as an outcome. And that's a very different perspective. It's a very bottom up kind of a process that we all at faculty level trying to inculcate in the studios, based on the inputs of the people and all. Then it's a need, you're kind of responding to their needs. And it's not a very top down approach where designer thinks what is right for the people. It's people kind of giving you cues, and then you are just facilitating the design process to kind of respond to their needs. And I think that's a very important kind of a process-driven approach, that Shishti has been able to inculcate in all these studios. So yeah, just to coming back to Arnav, the scales and all keep changing, but the process and the values will remain constant across the studio in that sense. Do we have any other questions?
I have another 4 minutes left. We can quickly take one more question, I think, if there is any.
I think that's about it. So yeah, anyway, we'll later host this on my YouTube channel as a, people can then take a look at it. We'll also share it on our social later on. So yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
about it now.
so
Thank
thank you so
you.
much for everybody who joined. Like we said, our email addresses were there on the presentation. In case you want to get in touch with us, please write to us. We'll be more than happy to kind of clarify your queries. We also request you to keep following the Insta page of Shrishti, because there are going to be a series of webinars that have been planned for the subsequent months. The next one, immediate one, is on the Friday at 6 o'clock, and where that's going to be an interesting one because it's not a program driven webinar, but it's more about many journeys of learner at Shrishti. Because like we kept telling, no one student has the same kind of a journey in Shrishti. because it's a choice-based navigation. And it'll be an interesting webinar to understand from faculties and students as how everybody's journeys has shaped them into a different practitioner. So yeah, please stay tuned to these webinars, and yeah, see you
There
next
is a
time.
hand, Mr. Babu Raj. Mr. Babu Raj, you can you can speak. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just asking about the fee structure of it.
Fee structure. Yeah, I just explained it a little earlier. I have also shared a link, which I'll share again. I'll tell you, I'll explain it to you. Here's the link. Sorry. I have shared it again, and it is second, please. It's about 7,58,000 rupees per annum. And that link will give you the correct take you to a document. The first year the applicant, I mean the student learner will also pay a caution deposit of 50,000 rupees, which is returnable at the end of the course without interest. So that's the fee of Mr. Babaraj. Yeah. The link is there. You can actually see the document.
Yes.
Okay. So
Thank you, Mahesh, also for this facilitating this and the students.
Absolutely.
thank you very much. Thank
So
you.
thank you,
Thank
everybody.
Thank you,
Look
everyone.
forward to seeing you in Srishti.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.